Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Matrix lab. This is the video number 14. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been working on creating a new virtual machine and install on it Windows Server VNext 2025, which is the latest Microsoft Windows Server operating system. It is still in the preview phase. It's not completely, or the final release is not yet published. It is estimated to be released at the half of the year or half of this year. Okay, so we have created a virtual machine and installed on it the Windows Server VNext 2025, and then we are preparing to install WSUS server role feature on this server. We have the previous video talked about the best practices for installing and configuring a WSUS server. We have asked the different AI tools to provide us with different best practices. We have seen a lot of good answers. All of them complete each other. Not only one AI tool can give you the best practices, but everyone gives some recommendations and the other give some different recommendations, but in the end we can combine all of these best practices and get a good uh, view on how to install and configure WSUS. Okay, so we have done this in the previous video. Today we will begin the implementation or the practical steps on creating and installing and configuring WSUS server. So let's go and see this one. So we will open the VMware Workstation Pro, which is currently not uh, it's not anymore issued by VMware company because it is now let's see, it is now acquired by Broadcom company. And one good news for VM Workstation Pro, it's now being issued free, so you can download and install VM Workstation Pro for free as a personal use. Before that, it was only for commercial use. Today, you can download and install VM Workstation Pro and VM Fusion for free. Just go to the Broadcom website and register yourself there and download the product of VM Workstation Pro and VM Fusion. This I think we need to register, or I think you can download it directly. Anyway, it is now available for free for personal use. So we will open the VM Workstation Pro. We will open the primary domain controller and then the WSUS, okay, server, and install the feature or the WSUS server role feature. I am just here checking if there is any update for the VM Workstation Pro, just to make sure maybe they have a support for the Microsoft Windows Server VNext 2025. If there is any support for this operating system by the VM Workstation Pro software, but I didn't find any update, and I think they will not support it unless it is a final release. Okay, so I didn't find any update, so I will open the primary domain controller. As we all know, I cannot uh, uh, operate 3 virtual machines or more than 3 virtual machines at one time because I have only 4 processors. Okay, so I can only open 3 virtual machines uh, one at a time. Okay, or all at one time. Okay, so now I have the WSUS server opened. Then I will log in and begin the installation and the configuration of the WSUS server role feature. This is my domain admin account. So as we can see here, there is a problem, the crash that happens every time. Here the Windows say that it was shut down improperly. This is because there is a hang. You all know that there is a problem. I have a problem with this Microsoft server operating system. It's always crashes at random times. As we have said, this is a Canary edition, so it is experimental edition, so it is supposed to have some bugs and things to be fixed later. Okay, so here this is the shutdown event tracker. We all know that any abnormal event that happens, it also should be recorded in the event viewer. So he's saying shutdown event tracker, you should state what was the problem. Okay, and now there was another error saying that the idle log of program cannot be located. You all know that the Active Directory login script will initialize or will open the idle log of program on every server I have in the domain. This program is responsible for logging off any user on any server if he didn't work or there is no activity on the server for 1 hour. Okay, so the idle log off is simply a program that is monitoring the operating system. If any user logged into the operating system and he didn't do any activity for 1 hour, the idle log off will log off this user automatically after 1 hour. You can change the duration as you like. This is a custom software. You can use it. I think you can do this also using a PowerShell script. Anyway, so this is something it is a best practice not to leave any user opened on any server. Okay, so this is one of the best practices. Do whatever you like on the server and then log off from the server. Okay, log off from the operating system of the server. So now here I have the program. It's in on my primary domain controller, so I will go and copy the folder and put it on my C partition on the WSUS server. So the Active Directory login script will go to the C partition and check for a folder named idle logoff. In it there is a program called idle logoff.exe. This is the program that the script will initialize or open. Okay, so here I am copying it from the C partition of my domain controller. We all know that you can access any partition in any PC or server on the domain. You can access it by putting in the run or type in the run the name of the server slash the partition, then the $sign. This is called admin share. So you have access to any partition on any PC or server in the domain using the admin share feature. This is only available for the domain admins and the local administrators on the PCs or servers. By default, the domain admin will be a member of all of the local administrators group on all of the PCs and servers in the domain. So this will imply that he will act like a local administrator. So again, you can access any partition on any PC or any server in the domain by just simply open the run box, okay, or the run box, okay, and then put / the name of the PC or the server / the partition $sign, and then you can access it easily. But make sure that you are working with the domain admin account, or you are a local administrator that can access these admin share partitions. Okay, we can see here, for example, if this is my laptop, if I right click and then tell him computer management and then go to the share folders, here you can see something called admin share. So we can see here admin share, he is sharing the C partition and the D partition. Okay, so here I can access these two shared partitions. You can see they are shared, but these shares are hidden. The $sign means that it is a hidden share. The only one that can access these two hidden share partitions, okay, is the local administrator on the PC or the domain admin, which is also a member of the local administrator groups on any PC in the domain. Okay, so this is one thing to take note. Again, so I copy the folder and put it in the C partition. So when the Active Directory login script works, it will see the folder and initializes the program. Okay, so now I need to go to the control panel and disable the firewall on the WSUS server. Okay, it's not a regular or it's not a normal best practice. Most of us tend to leave the firewall opened on the servers, but in a practical situation, most of the Windows firewalls make problems on servers. Okay, so I in my work environment we have disabled all of the Windows firewalls on all of our servers. Okay, and but to make sure that our servers are not in danger, you should make sure that most of your servers doesn't have access to the internet except for two servers, the WSUS server and the antivirus server. So these two should have the Windows Defender firewall open because they have access to the internet and they are in risk to be hacked. Here in the lab, although this is WSUS server, so I need to leave the firewall opened here just for this is a small lab environment, so I am just disabling the firewall so I don't have any problems communicating with this server in the future. But uh, if you are in a practical environment, you should leave the firewall open on the WSUS server and the antivirus server, and you can configure rules on this Windows firewalls on both servers just to make sure that the communication is easy between all of the PCs and servers in the network with the WSUS server and the antivirus server. So you can configure firewall rules on the WSUS server and the antivirus server. Okay, so here I'm just disabling the firewall. Turn off Windows Defender. Here we will disable the Windows Defender firewall. So now we can continue with our scenario, but first we need to remove this icon from the taskbar and just make these hidden icons, all of the icons appear. I don't need to have any hidden icons, so we'll close the task view. Okay, and then we will go to the other system tray icons. I need all of the icons to appear in front of me, so I go to the other system tray icons and tell it or to close hidden icons options. Okay, so all of the icons will appear in front of me. Okay, so we have other system trays, hidden icon menu, so now we can see all of the icons appearing in front of us. We can just disable also the Azure Arc tray because I don't have any cloud servers, don't have any Azure cloud servers. So now we can go to the server manager and begin the installation and configuring of the WSUS server role feature. So now we open it. And before that, we need to go and choose a partition. So we will put our WSUS server update, or WSUS updates that the WSUS server goes to the Microsoft website and get it, it will be saved in the D partition in a folder named WSUS. It is a best practice to put all of the WSUS updates that are collected or driven from the from the Microsoft website should be on a separate partition than the operating system, or to be on a separate hard disk from the hard disk that contains the operating system. So this is also one of the best practices that the AI tools provided us with in the previous video. So now we will create a folder named WSUS. Okay. Now we will take the path, and then when the WSUS configuration wizard asks us where we will save the updates that will be downloaded by the WSUS server from the Microsoft website, we'll provide this path for the installation wizard and the configuration wizard. Okay. So you can see everything seems normal. This is the name of the computer or server, the domain, all of the options are activated, the teaming is done. So now we can see this is the dashboard and some of the events. We can see these are all kernel power because when I shut down the machine, it was improperly shut down or improper shutdown. This is because the hang that happens, so it is recorded every time I do this. So I'm just telling him to hide the alerts because I know what is the problem. Okay, so we will hide it. You need to always monitor the dashboard for any errors or events. Okay, so we'll hide the alerts. Now everything is perfect. Now we can go and tell him to manage and add roles and features. Okay, then we will go and tell him next, next, then next. Then we should choose the WSUS server update services. So I think this is not okay. We will choose Windows Server Update Service and then tell him next, and then next. Okay, let me go first here for another thing, guys. If you go there, no, let me go one step ahead. So when we choose the WSUS server, it will install additional components. So it will install the WSUS server update service server role feature, and it will install a couple of additional components, something called IIS. This is mostly used when you need to create a website on a web server, okay, or if you need to create a web server, okay. So uh, basically the WSUS server will act as an internal website. So if any client or server need to get updates from to get updates to his operating system, he should go to the internal website of the WSUS server and communicate with it and get the updates. So this will act as an internal web server that all clients and servers should communicate with to get their updates. So we need to install the IIS for this function. And there is, for example, NetFrame and other things, but mainly you will see a web server. We can see this is the feature of the web server. So we can continue now. Then next. We can see this is a description saying that allow network administrator to specify the Microsoft update that should be installed, create separate groups of computers for different sets of updates. This is very good. And get reports on the compliance levels of the computers and the updates that must be installed. So this is basically what is a WSUS server update server. Okay, so we will go and continue. Next, and we can see here this allows administrator to manage the download and installation of updates from Microsoft website to the local network. So this is again another definition of WSUS server. Things to note, at least one server must be able to download updates from Microsoft update website. Other WSUS servers can get updates either from that server or from Microsoft updates. So you can make one server which will act as the upstream server, and then you can add additional WSUS servers that will act as a downstream. So you can have multiple WSUS servers. As we have seen in the previous video, some of the AI recommendations is to have multiple WSUS servers if you have a large network that needs large network that have a lot of clients that need Microsoft updates. Okay, so this can be done. You can make a server to be the primary WSUS server that will download updates from the Microsoft websites, and the other WSUS servers will act as additional WSUS servers or replicas for this WSUS server. They will get the updates from the primary WSUS server and they will push it to their clients in their locations. Okay, but you cannot do anything on the additional WSUS server or WSUS replicas because any change in configuration should be done on the primary WSUS server. Okay, if you have this kind of setup. Okay, WSUS server to server and server to client communication should be set up to use secure socket layer or use HTTPS over SSL. So this is also one of the best practices to let the clients communicate with the WSUS server in or using secure protocols, secure communication protocols. Okay, so next. Here we should know that we have two kinds of database. We have seen before that the WSUS will record some important data in a database. This database could be Windows internal database or SQL database. The difference between these two databases are in the size or the maximum size it can reach. For example, I think Windows internal database can reach up to 2 terabyte. I don't know if this was updated because this was an information I was working with from 2019. Maybe it's now supporting more data size. As for the SQL, it supports more than 2 tera, of course, more than that. Okay, and it is a best practice also to if you have a large environment, you can use SQL database instead of Windows internal database. But as for the lab environment, we can use the Windows internal database. And by the way, there is a couple of issues that happens nowadays if you are working with the Windows internal database. Okay, some errors appears when you are trying to have WSUS work with the Windows internal database. I have found this in Windows Server 2022. There was an error and it was fixed by a script. And the same, I think, on 2025, an error appeared for me, but for a different reason. But anyway, some of the IT prefer to use the SQL instead of the Windows internal database for having a larger database size and to overcome the problems that could happen when you are working with the Windows internal database. Okay, so let's go and continue. Now here we see that another note that you should the partition that will contain the WSUS downloaded updates from Microsoft should be formatted as NTFS, and you should have at least 6 gigabyte which free space, which is, of course, you need to have more than that depending upon the Microsoft products downloads that you will get from the Microsoft website. And one thing, it will be stored locally. There is two ways you can download the updates and store them locally in the folder that you have created, or the WSUS will act as a proxy. It can redirect the clients to the Microsoft website, and they can download it directly from the Microsoft website. It's not directly. WSUS will act as a proxy. It will redirect the users, so the users will communicate with the WSUS, and then the WSUS will redirect them to the Microsoft website to get the updates. I don't know why this solution any IT could approve it or can work with it, because basically you can let every PC communicate with the Microsoft website and get the update directly. But one advantage of doing that is that you can control which updates will be downloaded and installed to the clients, even though they are not locally stored on the WSUS server. So let's see. I have asked the AI, ChatGPT, about this issue because I was confused about it. So here, this is an a screenshot of the text, the things that are written in the installation wizard. We can see here, transcript the text from this screenshot and explain it. Here he have got the text correctly, and then he began explaining what this text mean. So here I asked him a little bit of a question here and ask him to explain point 3. Here I do not recognize that saving space. If you need to save disk space on the server, you need to clear the checkbox. So we can go there and clear the checkbox, store updates in the following location. This will not be stored locally. We can uncheck it. If you need to save space on the server, you can clear the checkbox, meaning updates will be stored on the Microsoft update website. This is a little bit weird how it will be saved on the Microsoft website. I don't know. This option may slow down the download process for updates. So I asked the AI to explain it more, explain point 3 more. So let's see what was the answer of ChatGPT concerning this point. We'll just wait for a moment. So here, let me refresh it. Okay, so let's go and read it. Just a moment. So here, let's first, before that, I need to close the Telegram. So we close it and close the team. Okay, and then we can go and tell him to read this out loudly. Strange, it's not accepting. Just a moment. So I tell him to read it loudly. It's not reading it. So we can go to do it with another way. Just a moment.
Explanation of point 3. Saving disk space. Option to clear the checkbox. The wizard provides an option to clear a checkbox that determines where updates will be stored. By default, the checkbox is checked, meaning updates will be stored locally on the WSUS server. If you uncheck this checkbox, the server will not store updates locally. Impact on disk space. Clearing the checkbox helps save disk space on the WSUS server because updates are not stored on the server itself. Instead, the updates remain on Microsoft Update, which is an online service provided by Microsoft. Download speed. When updates are stored on Microsoft Update instead of locally, the download speed for client computers may be slower. This is because client computers will need to download updates from the Internet, Microsoft Update, rather than directly from the local WSUS server. Use case. This option is useful in scenarios where the WSUS server has limited disk space or when it's desirable to reduce the storage footprint on the server. However, it may not be ideal in environments where fast update deployment is critical, as relying on Microsoft Update can introduce delays due to internet bandwidth and connection speeds. By carefully considering this option, administrators can balance the need for local storage and disk space management against the need for timely update deployment.
So this is the answer of ChatGPT. Here I asked him, then WSUS will act as a proxy in this case. So let's see what was the answer of ChatGPT. Let me give you the answer. This is a very, very good thing to talk about. Again, it's not reading out loudly, so let's do it with our way. Just a moment.
Yes, if you choose to clear the checkbox and not store updates locally, WSUS will act as a proxy in this case. Here's how it works. WSUS acting as a proxy. Configuration. When you clear the checkbox, WSUS is configured to not store the updates on the local server's disk. Update approval. As an administrator, you will still approve the updates through the WSUS Management Console. This step remains the same whether updates are stored locally or not. Client update process. Request. Client computers will request updates from the WSUS server as usual. Redirection. Instead of serving the updates directly from its local storage, the WSUS server will redirect the clients to download the updates from Microsoft Update, the Internet. Download. Clients will download the approved updates directly from Microsoft Update servers. Benefits and trade-offs. Disk space saving. The primary benefit is saving disk space on the WSUS server, as updates are not stored locally. Potential download slowness. A trade-off is that client computers might experience slower download speeds since they are downloading updates from the Internet rather than a local network server. Bandwidth considerations. This configuration can also impact your Internet bandwidth usage, as multiple clients will download updates over the Internet rather than through the internal network. Scenarios for proxy use. Limited disk space. If the WSUS server has limited disk space and cannot accommodate the storage of updates. Remote or low bandwidth locations. In environments where the server is in a location with limited resources but clients have sufficient internet bandwidth to download updates directly from Microsoft. In summary, in this proxy-like configuration, WSUS will manage and approve updates but will not store them locally. Clients will be directed to download the updates from Microsoft Update, effectively using WSUS as a management and redirection tool rather than a storage repository for updates.
Very, very good answer. So we can see here that this option, actually, I didn't use it before, but Thanks for the clarification of ChatGPT 4.0. By the way, I am using the latest version of the ChatGPT software. Okay, so it's very good, and it's better than ChatGPT 4. So we will use it later with God will in all of our videos. So we can see here that we will choose to store it locally. Then next, and this is here we can see another thing. If we can go a little bit, okay, you can go like that, again, again. So let's go a little bit further. Just a moment, because I need to read something here. Here you can see web servers are computers that let you share information over the internet or through intranet and extranet. The web server role includes internet, so and so web. So this is used, okay, by the WSUS to communicate with the clients. Okay, the default includes an installation of role server that enable you to statically content make mirror such as documents. So and so. This is why we use this, because the WSUS will act as an internal website. Okay, so this is why we installed this feature. Next. Now tell him next. Then it should need a restart. And by the way, here I have encountered an error, which was weird a little bit, but later I have discovered the issue, why I got this error. Okay, so after installing the feature, it will do or will launch a post-installation task. This was not successful. When I tried to initialize this post-installation task, I have an error. So I try to read the error. I have got to this location or this path and try to read the content of this temp file. So let's see how or what was the error. So this is one thing, you need to make sure to read the logs carefully or the errors carefully to know what was the issue. Here, for example, this is in a folder and C users, the username, this is the domain admin. Just a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here we need to go and see the location of this log file and see what was the error. And by the way, you need always to focus on the log locations for uh, any operating system. For example, Windows have the event viewer, which is like the black box for every event that happens in the operating system. It is recorded in the event viewer, and there is an additional log locations for every feature. The WSUS has I think a location for its logs. The Active Directory have another location. For example, I think in C Windows, I think sysvol folder maybe, or something called logs, C Windows logs, I think. Anyway, there is, you need to check the logs for any errors, and there is some software that monitor these log locations and collect the logs from it and report it to the user and analyze it and give you some recommendations as well. Something like Azure, there is something like this on Azure platform. It is done already. Okay, so let's go and see what was the error. So by the way, the app data, this is a hidden file. So you need to, or a hidden folder, you need to go and tell it to show hidden folders so you can go and access it. By the way, you can type it and access it, but here I opened the folder options and tell the operating system to display the hidden folders. So here we can see, we can go to the view options, show, okay, hidden items, and then we can open the WSUS, the C, okay, and then the users, and then the user profile folder, then the app data, this is a hidden folder, then local, then we need to open the temp folder, and then number one, the folder which is named one, then temp 63C6. So I will open number one, then this one, then show more options, then we can tell him open with. Okay, just for once or just once, we'll open it with Notepad. We can search for failed or error. You can search this text file for failed and error, and then you can post this text data or this content in an AI tool and ask it what is the problem and how to solve it. Or you can search Google with the content of this text file. So here I'm trying to search and see what is the problem. So after investigation or after investigating, we will see at the end there is a line saying execution timeout. So here I thought maybe this was a problem with some of my virtual machine hardware resources. So this is a process, or the WSUS process didn't complete because there is no enough hardware resources, or the execution of the WSUS process took a long time because there is no enough hardware resources. So you see execution timeout, and if we go further down, we will see the error begins to appear. He says that import default modules fail. We can see here, for example, that execution timeout. So we can see this is clearly uh, uh, a process timeout. The timeout period elapsed before so and so. So I thought maybe there was a problem with the hardware resources of this virtual machine. I have here assigned 2 gigabyte of RAM, and this is not enough for the WSUS server. I need to provide it with more RAM. Okay, so here I'm again stressing on the point of that the WSUS need to be installed on a separate server with a good hardware resources, especially the RAM and the processor and the hard disk. Okay, so what I have done, I have repeated the process again and see maybe this time it will succeed. So now we will launch post installation tasks again, and let's see maybe it will succeed this time. Then pause the video. Then as you can see here, configuration successfully complete. So this was an execution timeout. Maybe now there is enough hardware resources to complete the WSUS configuration process. So now what we need to do here, we need to create a custom console or a custom management console and add the WSUS console to it and the services console, so I can monitor the services related to the WSUS. Okay, so the WSUS uh, to begin working, you need to make sure that there is a couple of services running. The WSUS services, the Windows internal database service. This is very critical for the WSUS internal database to work, because if it's not working, the WSUS will not work. Okay, so now as you can see here, this is the Windows Update service. We need to add the console, and a couple of questions will arise after adding this console. This is the initial configuration. You need to answer a couple of questions to configure a couple of things in the WSUS server. First of all, this is some questions here. For example, this is normal questions. Is the server firewall configured to allow clients to access the server? We have closed the firewall. Can this computer connect to the upstream server, which is Microsoft website? Do you have user credentials for the proxy server? If there is a proxy server, uh, maybe here this is not a proxy server, but we have our firewall will act, our hardware firewall will act as a proxy server. So I need to make sure if for example, you need to configure the browsers on this or any browser in your client workstation or in your server. You need to configure the browser to communicate with the proxy server and then pass it to communicate with it using a user credential. Anyway, we don't have a proxy server, okay, in this environment, and we can sure access the internet. We are positive of that, and we have disabled the firewall. So here, this is the Microsoft improvement program. You can uncheck it if you like. Then it will sync from Microsoft Update, or it will sync from another WSUS server. We have discussed this issue before. Now we can go and uh, click next. Then there is no proxy server. Then we will start the communication. So here, what it should do here, we need to apply here connecting to save and download upstream server and proxy server information. Here is trying to communicate with the Microsoft website. So here is initializing a connection with the Microsoft update website to get the latest updates, products that can be updated and available updates, types of updates. So these are all downloaded from the upstream server. Okay, so this is very, very critical. So to get the latest Microsoft products list, so you can get the list. Okay, the list, for example, if the Windows Server 2025 is now available, now we can, by initializing this connection, we can get the latest updates, a list of updates for this operating system. Anyway, so this is an initial setup, initial configuration, or initial connection. It will take about 15 minutes. Next. Then we can choose the language these updates will be installed with. And then we can choose the products. For example, here I need to choose the updates for the Windows Server, okay, and the antivirus and the age. So this is the three things I need to check. Here we can see that, uh, for example, we cannot see here listed the Windows Server 2022 or 2016 or 2019. This is now replaced with another naming convention. We will see here something called Microsoft Server Operating System 21H2 or 22H2 or 23H2. So I need to know what is the name of my operating system, or what is the naming convention for this my operating system that match one of these. So we need to right click and run and see which one of these match, okay, because it will not type here 2016 or 2019 or 2022. I think because I didn't see it. For example, if you go further back, let's see here a little bit of browsing. Let's wait for a moment. We can see here, for example, there is 2019 and 2016, but I think 2022 is not here. You will not see something called 2022. Okay, so to make sure that we can get updates for the Windows Server 2022 or for our current operating system, we should do the following. Wait with me and I will show you all how we can get the update. So we'll right click, or we will need to, first of all, we need to check the age, and then we right click and run, okay, on the Windows icon, then run, then type WinVer. So here you need to focus on this one. What is the version? It is 23H2. We all know this naming convention. 23, it is the year, we are 2023, and H2, it is the second quarter of the year. So we can see here that from this we need to choose the third one. Okay, so this will get the updates for this one. Okay, any operating system, by the way. So this should apply to the Windows 2022 and any other Windows server, but you need to check this naming convention. Okay, so next. So you can see there is no something listed related to Windows Server 2022, for example. This is the type of updates. We can see there is the critical updates, the definition updates, or this is related to the antivirus, and security updates. You need to install these critical updates and security updates immediately. You should not delay in installing this kind of updates, but before that you need to test them. We can, after configuring WSUS, to make a group of computers we'll call them test computers, and test the latest updates on them before pushing it to all of our clients and servers. This is one of the best practices as well, which was also stated as one of our AI tools, the Rika AI tool. Okay, so now tell him next. Then we should set the synchronization time with the Microsoft website at midnight, so we can make sure that no one is currently using the internet, because this will consume a lot of bandwidths from the internet. Okay, next, then next, then finish. Now we can add the services console, because I need to make sure that all of the necessary services are running to make the WSUS work normally. Okay, so now we will open the Windows Server Update console. Now we need to create a couple of custom computer groups. We can see by default there is only one group, which is the unassigned computers. Any computer that will communicate with the WSUS server, it will be uh, added to this container, which is unassigned computers. All of the servers and workstations, we need to create a couple of groups, one for the servers group, one for the workstations group, and the third for the test group. So we can put or assign uh, uh, every server to the servers group and every workstation to the workstation group, and we will choose a couple of workstations and put them in the test group. So this is very, very useful, so we can install a couple of updates to a certain group of computers. Okay, so this is also one of the best practices. Okay, so we name them servers, and we will see that I will make the domain controller communicate to the WSUS server, and then I will move it from the unassigned computers group to the servers group. Okay. Okay, then we will add the computer, something called test. Now we can initialize the synchronization with the Microsoft website. Make sure after doing that, we need to configure a group policy and push it to the clients to inform them that if you need to get your operating system updates or your application Microsoft updates, you need to communicate with the WSUS. This should be done through a group policy, and we show you all how this is done. Anyway, so we will initialize the syncing, and then we can go to the domain controller and tell it to communicate with WSUS. But this step, we should not do it before configuring the group policy that will tell the servers and clients to communicate with WSUS. So for example, before going to the DC and doing or initialize a Windows update, we need to go and do this. For example, here is the group policy. If we go there, this is the group policy that we should configure. Here is the report, and this is the WSUS policy. If we go there and go to the section, here this is the computer configuration. The section, here you go, this is the section of computer configuration, administrative templates, Windows components, Windows update. Here, configure automatic updates. This telling the WSUS to auto download and install updates for the workstations. This should be done every day at 3 or 3, I think 3 a.m. or p.m. whatsoever. You can specify the time that you need these updates to be installed, and you can see which time it should communicate with the Microsoft website and download the updates, maybe first week of the month, second week of the month, third week of the month, fourth week of the month. Okay, and here this is the very, very important configuration section here to specify the server. We need to put the server name before it, HTTP, because this is an internal website, and then the port. This is the port that the clients will communicate with the WSUS through it, and this is the name of the WSUS server, and this is the website. So the website, the name of the server, the port. So this is specify intranet Microsoft update service location. So we need to configure both. Okay, This is for the clients, auto download and schedule the install. And for the servers, we will choose another option called auto download and notify for install, because I don't want the WSUS server to automatically install updates on the servers. This should be done by the administrator, because when you install updates, this will interrupt the work on the server. This should be planned and should be notified to the users. Anyway, this is the group policy we need to configure. Actually, I didn't record it, so I'm just displaying with it or displaying the report with you, because I didn't record the step for configuring this group policy. So I will go and show you all what we need to do. We will go to the domain controller. This is my domain admin account, and then begin the login. Let me see how much time we have reached. 50 minutes. Okay, so we can go, and where is this one? Okay, so we can go. Yes, that's it. Now I am checking for updates. Okay, it will communicate with WSUS server, but before that we need to configure the group policy. So now if we go and check the WSUS, we will see it had already registered, or the domain controller had already registered with the WSUS server. As we can see here, this is the name of our server. It is in the unassigned computers. We will move it to the servers. Okay, so this is one thing. And then you can, after that, complete or do the rest for the rest of the computers and workstation. And remember, we have best practice from Microsoft to enhance the performance of the WSUS server by increasing the memory limit for the WSUS server, do some maintenance for the database. So this also you should work with it after configuring the WSUS server. So thus, this is another thing to note. Okay, we have seen this URL for Microsoft in the previous video. Okay, so this is all for the WSUS server. I think now we have completed the configuration. I think we'll shut it down anyway. So we will stop at this because I have already configured the WSUS. Now we need to go to uh, another subject. The main focus of this lab is to work on troubleshooting the different things in the uh, uh, domain environment. So we have set up a file server, we have set up a WSUS server, we have set up a DHCP server, we have set up a primary domain controller, additional domain controller. We need to see the different troubleshooting tools that can help us to troubleshoot anything in our domain. The Active Directory problems, the DNS problems, the workstation problems, if there is any problem with the workstation. So we need to focus in this lab on how to use the different tools to solve different problems within an Active Directory domain. So one of the most famous tools is the DCDIAG tool. This is a tool that is used to troubleshoot problems with the Active Directory, which is very critical problems. If it happens, it will do a lot of damage. So we need to see this tool. The first tool that we will study is the DCDIAG tool. This is PowerPoint presentation. It is done by the owner of a YouTube channel called TechSavvy, which is called Lo Landerpool. He is a very professional IT, and he is discussing different IT topics in a very simple way. And this is his PowerPoint presentation. I urge you all to go and subscribe to his channel because he's providing a very good data. So we'll use his data and discuss the different tools that we can use to troubleshoot many problems in our domain. Okay, so one thing I need to add to his presentation, we will use the different AI tools to describe or to discuss these different tools. So for example, one of the good things that I have found using the AI tools that you can tell it to explain different topics in different languages or in different formats. So for example, if you tell the AI tool to explain for example, the DCDIAG tool in layman's term, this will do one thing. It will do the following. Let me show you all what we mean by layman terms. This is very, very simple thing. So for example, if you are working with a different AI tools and you need to get a simple explanation for a certain topic, you need to tell it, explain in layman terms. What is the meaning of layman terms? Let me read it to you loudly.
Layman's terms refers to explaining complex or technical concepts in a way that is easy to understand for someone without specialized knowledge or expertise in the subject. The goal is to break down jargon, acronyms, and technical language into simpler, everyday language that anyone can understand. The aim is to make the information accessible and relatable, regardless of the listener's background or level of familiarity with the topic. In the context of explaining the DIAG tool, layman's terms means providing an explanation that avoids technical jargon and instead uses everyday language and examples to help non-experts understand what the tool does and why it's important.
So as we can see, very, very good. See, I asked him, can you give me more terms like that that can simplify the answer giving to me by different AI tools? This was another fantastic answer from Rika, and I use it in all of the different AI tools, and it gave me a fantastic experience. So let me read it for you guys loudly, and you can benefit from it.
Absolutely. Here are some more terms and phrases that can help simplify complex explanations. Plain language, using simple, everyday words and avoiding technical jargon to make information easy to understand. Analogies, drawing comparisons to familiar concepts or situations to explain complex ideas. For example, comparing a computer CPU to a car's engine to explain how it powers the system. Visual aids, using diagrams, charts, or images to illustrate complex concepts visually. This can make abstract ideas more concrete and easier to grasp. Step-by-step instructions, breaking down processes or procedures into clear, sequential steps. This can make complex tasks seem more manageable and less intimidating. Real-world examples, using real-life scenarios or situations to explain concepts. This can make abstract ideas more relatable and easier to understand. Terminology glossary, providing a list of key terms and their definitions to help readers understand technical jargon. Simplified summaries, providing concise summaries or overviews of complex topics to give readers a high-level understanding before diving into the details. Progressive detail, starting with a broad overview and gradually adding more detail as the reader progresses. This can make complex topics more digestible. Interactive elements, using interactive elements like quizzes or simulations to engage readers and reinforce understanding. The goal is to make complex information as accessible and understandable as possible for a wide range of audiences. Context cleared. Explain each one of these diag.
So let's use every one of these 10 terms to explain the DCDIAG. So for example, what is the DCDIAG in layman terms? Let's see what was the answer of ChatGPT. Just a moment.
What is DIAG.exe? DIAG.exe is a diagnostic tool used for checking the health of domain controllers, DCs, in an Active Directory environment. Think of it like a doctor for your computer network, making sure everything is running smoothly. Why is it important? Imagine you have a big company with lots of computers, all connected in a network. These computers need to talk to each other and share information. Domain controllers help manage this communication, like traffic cops directing cars at intersections. If the domain controllers have problems, the whole network can get messy, with computers not being able to connect or share information properly. Diag.exe helps you find and fix these problems. How does it work? When you run DCDIAG.exe, it performs a series of tests to check the health of your domain controllers. It's like doing a health checkup where the tool checks various aspects such as connectivity. Can all the domain controllers talk to each other? Replication. Are changes in one part of the network properly copied to other parts? DNS. Are the domain name system DNS settings correct, allowing computers to find each other? In simple steps, run the tool. You use a command prompt to run diag.exe. Perform tests. The tool automatically performs tests on different aspects of your network's health. Get results. It provides a report showing any issues found, like a medical report highlighting any health concerns. Fix problems. You can then use this report to fix the problems, ensuring your network runs smoothly. Why should you use it? Using diag.exe is like doing regular maintenance on your car. It helps prevent small issues from becoming big problems, keeps everything running efficiently, and ensures your network is reliable and secure. In summary, diag.exe is a handy tool that helps you keep your computer network healthy and trouble-free by checking the health of domain controllers and identifying any issues that need fixing.
So we can see here, this is how we can explain a subject in layman terms. This is on ChatGPT 4.0. Let's go to Gemini and see what is the answer, just to make sure, or to let you all know that the same term can be used in different AI tools and you will get similar results. Okay, so let's see what was the answer of Gemini.
Imagine DCDIAG linked to .x as a mechanic for your computer network, but specifically for a part called the domain controller, DC. The DC is like the central filing cabinet in your network, keeping track of all the users, computers, and permissions. DCDIAG linked to .x is a free tool that checks the health of these domain controllers. It runs a series of tests like: can other computers find the domain controller? Are the services running smoothly on the domain controller, like the ones that let users log in? Is the information stored on the domain controller consistent across all the other domain controllers, copies of the filing cabinet? If DCDIAG linked to .x finds any problems, it will report them, kind of like how a mechanic tells you what's wrong with your car. This helps network administrators diagnose and fix any issues with the domain controllers, keeping your network running smoothly. Here's an important thing to note. DCDIAG linked to .x is a command line tool, so you need to type commands to use it. It's not like a regular program with buttons and menus. But for IT professionals, it's a valuable tool to maintain a healthy network.
Very, very simple terms, not for a technical one, so you can understand clearly, even though you are not an IT, what this tool do. So this is for the ChatGPT 4.0, this is one for the Gemini, and let's see also the one for the Claude 3 Sonnet. Let's see also what is the answer of the Claude 3 Sonnet when we ask it the same question.
Sure, I can explain the diag.exe tool in simple terms. Diag.exe is a command line tool in Windows that helps diagnose and troubleshoot issues related to Active Directory (AD), which is a directory service used by organizations to manage user accounts, computers, and other resources on a network. When you run diag.exe, it performs a series of tests to check the health and functionality of various components of Active Directory, such as the domain controller, DC, which is a server that handles authentication and authorization requests within the AD domain. The tool checks for potential problems, such as connectivity issues. It verifies that the DC can communicate with other DCs and various AD services. Replication issues. It checks if the AD data, user accounts, groups, policies, etc., is being replicated correctly across all DCs. Security issues. It looks for any security-related problems, such as expired or invalid certificates, or issues with authentication mechanisms. Configuration issues. It checks if the DC is configured correctly, including various settings and services related to AD. After running the tests, diag.exe generates a report that provides detailed information about any issues it has found, along with potential solutions or recommendations for fixing the problems. This tool is typically used by IT administrators or support personnel to diagnose and resolve AD-related problems, such as user account lockouts, authentication failures, or other issues that may arise in a domain environment. In layman's terms, DIAG.exe is like a mechanics diagnostic tool for Active Directory. It checks under the hood of your AD infrastructure and lets you know if there are any issues or potential problems that need to be addressed.
This is not a good answer. The answer for ChatGPT 4 is better and for Gemini is better. This is not easy to understand by a non-technical person. So this is the first term that you can use to explain any subject to any to explain or to let the AI explain any subject to you in simple terms. Let's go to the second thing is to explain DCDIAG tool using a question and answer format. Let's see, even though this is a question and answer format, but the topic here that you can, or the main focus here that you can give the answer or let the AI give you the answer or the explanation in a question and answer format. This is better to understand. When the answer is like question and then answer, just see, or let's see the other answer.
In summary, DIAG.exe is an essential tool for diagnosing. Explain DIAG.exe tool using ChatGPT. Sure, ANAS. Here's an explanation of the DIAG.exe tool using a question. What is DIAG.exe? DIAG.exe is a diagnostic tool used to check the health of domain controllers in an Active Directory environment. It helps ensure that the network is running smoothly by identifying and fixing issues. Why do we need DIAG.exe? A. In a large network, domain controllers manage communication between computers. If these controllers have problems, it can disrupt the entire network. DIAG.exe helps detect and solve these problems to keep the network functioning properly. Question: how does DIAG.exe work? A. When you run DIAG.exe, it performs a series of tests on the domain controllers. These tests check various aspects like connectivity, replication, and DNS settings to ensure everything is working correctly. Question: what kind of tests does DIAG.exe perform? A. DIAG.exe performs several tests, including connectivity tests, ensures that all domain controllers can communicate with each other. Replication tests, verifies that changes in one part of the network are properly copied to other parts. DNS tests, checks that DNS settings are correct, allowing computers to find each other. Question: how do you run DIAG.exe? A. You run DIAG.exe from the command prompt. Simply open the command prompt and type DIAG, then press enter. The tool will automatically perform the tests and provide a report. Question: what does the report from DIAG.exe tell you? A. The report from DIAG.exe highlights any issues found during the tests. It's like a health report for your network, showing what needs to be fixed to ensure everything runs smoothly. Question: can you give an example of how DIAG.exe is useful? A. Imagine your network is experiencing slowdowns and connectivity issues. Running DIAG.exe can pinpoint the exact problem, such as a replication error or a DNS misconfiguration. By fixing these issues based on the report, you can restore the network to optimal performance. Question: is DCDIAG.exe easy to use? Yes, DCDIAG.exe is user-friendly. You don't need to be an expert to run the tool and understand the basics of the report. It's designed to help both IT professionals and less experienced users maintain their network's health. In summary, DCDIAG.exe is an essential tool for diagnosing and fixing issues with domain controllers in an Active Directory network, ensuring smooth and efficient network operation. Explain DCDIAG.exe tool using real.
Okay, so we'll stop at this part. We will go and see Gemini asking it the same question. Let's see if we will get a different answer.
Sure, here's an explanation of the DCDIAG link to .x tool in Q&A format. Q. What is DCDIAG link to .x? DCDIAG link to .x is a free tool that helps check the health of domain controllers, DCs, in a Windows network. Q. What are domain controllers? Domain controllers are like the central filing cabinets of a network, storing information about users, computers, and permissions. They ensure everything runs smoothly by keeping track of who can access what resources on the network. Q. What does DCDIAG link to .x do? DCDIAG link to .x runs a series of tests on the domain controllers to identify any issues. Imagine it as a mechanic checking your car for problems. Reachability. Can other computers communicate and find the domain controller? Service health. Are the services running on the domain controller functioning properly? These services are essential for tasks like user logins. Data consistency. Is the information stored on the domain controller consistent across all copies, like backups, on other domain controllers? Q. Why is DCDIAG link to .x important? By identifying potential problems with domain controllers, DCDIAG link to .x helps network administrators diagnose and fix issues before they disrupt the network. This keeps everything running smoothly for users. Q. How do I use DCDIAG link to .x? DCDIAG link to .x is a command line tool, meaning you need to type specific commands to use it. There are no buttons or menus like a regular program. While it's not for everyday users, it's a valuable tool for IT professionals to maintain a healthy network environment.
Maybe the same answer as ChatGPT 4.0, but we can see that this simplifies the explanation. If you tell it to put it in a form of question and answer, this will give you not more details, but it will simplify simplify the answer so you can easily comprehend or understand. So let's, for example, see also the answer of Claude 3, just a moment.
Sure. Here's an explanation of the DCDIAG.exe tool using a question. What is DCDIAG.exe? DCDIAG.exe is a command line tool in Windows that helps diagnose and troubleshoot issues related to Active Directory, AD. What does it do? DCDIAG.exe performs a series of tests to check the health and functionality of various components of Active Directory, such as the domain controller, DC, replication, security, and configuration. Question: what kinds of issues does it check for? It checks for potential problems like connectivity issues between DCs and AD services, replication issues, ensuring AD data is synced across DCs, security issues, expired certificates, authentication problems, and configuration issues, incorrect settings or services related to AD. Question: how does it work? When you run DCDIAG.exe, it runs through a series of tests and checks related to AD. After completing the tests, it generates a report detailing any issues it has found, along with potential solutions or recommendations. Question: who uses DCDIAG.exe? This tool is typically used by IT administrators or support personnel to diagnose and resolve AD-related problems within a domain environment. Question: can you give an example of when DCDIAG.exe would be useful? Sure. If users are experiencing authentication failures or account lockouts, an administrator could run DIAG.exe to check if there are any underlying issues with the AD infrastructure, such as replication problems or configuration errors, that might be causing the authentication issues. Question: is DIAG.exe a graphical tool or command line tool? DIAG.exe is a command line tool, which means it is run from the command prompt or PowerShell window without a graphical user interface. Question: how can I access the report generated by DIAG.exe? A. The report generated by DIAG.exe is typically saved as a text file in the same directory where the tool was run. You can open and review the report using a text editor. Copy.
Kroner.
Explain.
Okay, I think the report. Okay, anyway, so this is another answer. So we can see different answers from different AI tools. Now we can go to the third expression, which is explain a real world example. So now we have seen a theoretical explanation, simple explanation for the DIAG tool. Let's see real world examples and see how the DIAG tool can solve problems. So let's see the ChatGPT 4 answer.
Example 1. Office connectivity issues. Scenario: imagine you work in an office with many computers connected to a network. Recently, employees have been complaining that they can't access shared files or connect to certain applications. Using DIAG.exe, you run DIAG.exe on the network's domain controllers. The tool performs tests and discovers that one of the domain controllers has connectivity issues. This means that computers in the network are having trouble communicating with that controller. Outcome: with the results from DIAG.exe, you identify the faulty network cable connected to the problematic domain controller. After replacing the cable, you run DIAG.exe again to confirm everything is working properly. Employees can now access shared files and applications without any issues. Example 2. Slow network performance. Scenario: your company's network has been running slower than usual. Employees notice that logging into their computers and accessing email takes much longer. Using DIAG.exe, running DIAG.exe reveals a replication issue between the domain controllers. The tool's tests show that changes made on one domain controller are not being properly copied to others, causing delays and inconsistencies. Outcome: you follow the recommendations from the DIAG.exe report to fix the replication issue. This involves reconfiguring some settings and ensuring that all domain controllers are synchronized. After resolving the issue, network performance improves significantly and employees no longer experience delays. Example 3. DNS configuration problems. Scenario: users report that they can't access certain websites or network resources. This issue appears sporadically and affects different users at different times. Using DIAG.exe, you run DIAG.exe and focus on the DNS tests. The tool identifies misconfigurations in the DNS settings on one of the domain controllers. These incorrect settings are causing intermittent access problems. Outcome: by correcting the DNS settings based on the DIAG.exe report, you stabilize the network. Users can now consistently access websites and network resources without any disruptions. Example 4. Preparing for an audit. Scenario: your organization is preparing for an IT audit. The auditors will check the health and configuration of your network's domain controllers. Using DIAG.exe, before the auditors arrive, you run DIAG.exe to perform a comprehensive health check on your domain controllers. The tool highlights a few minor issues, such as outdated configurations and minor replication delays. Outcome: you address these issues using the guidance provided by DIAG.exe. When the auditors perform their check, they find that the domain controllers are well configured and healthy, resulting in a positive audit report for your organization. Example 5. Troubleshooting login failures. Scenario: employees are experiencing login failures when trying to access their computers. The issue seems random and affects different users each day. Using DCDIAG.exe. Running DCDIAG.exe helps you identify a problem with the global catalog, GC, on one of the domain controllers. The GC contains information that helps with login processes, and if it's not functioning correctly, it can cause login failures. Outcome: you fixed the global catalog issue based on the findings from DCDIAG.exe. This involves updating the GC settings and ensuring it's properly replicated across all domain controllers. After the fix, employees can log in without any issues. These examples show how DCDIAG.exe can be used to diagnose and resolve various network issues, ensuring smooth and efficient operations in real-world scenarios.
So we can see here this is also a very good way to explain a subject through giving real-world example. Let's see Gemini and the answer when I asked it to explain a real-world examples.
Absolutely. Let's understand DCDIAG link to .x through real-world examples. Scenario 1. Login issues on a Monday morning. Imagine you come to work on Monday morning and several colleagues are having trouble logging into their computers. They keep getting error messages. This could be a sign of an unhealthy domain controller. An IT administrator can run DCDIAG link to .x to diagnose the problem. The tool might reveal issues with the service responsible for user authentication on the domain controller. Just like a faulty ignition system preventing your car from starting, a malfunctioning service can block logins. Scenario 2. New branch office headaches. Your company just opened a new branch office, but employees there are facing slow network access and difficulty connecting to shared resources. DCDIAG link to .x can be used to check if the domain controller in the main office can properly communicate with the branch office computers. Think of it like having a single filing cabinet, domain controller, in the main office. If the filing cabinet malfunctions or communication breaks down, employees in the branch office, like a remote location, won't be able to access important documents, shared resources. DCDIAG link to .x helps identify any communication problems between the domain controller and remote locations. Scenario 3. Disaster recovery drill. Your company is conducting a disaster recovery drill to test how well the network can handle unexpected situations. DCDIAG link to .x can be used to verify that all the backup domain controllers, copies of the filing cabinet, are functioning properly and contain consistent data. Imagine having a fire drill in your office building. DCDIAG link to .x acts like checking all the emergency exits to ensure they're functional. Similarly, it ensures all backup domain controllers are healthy and ready to take over if the main domain controller fails.
So we can see here now we have this is the real world example. Let's see another way to explain a topic by, for example, giving this prompt explain. So we can see here, for example, that he give a situation where there is some troubleshooting login failures issue. So this was example number 5 in the previous answer of ChatGPT-4. So I asked him to explain example 5, troubleshooting login failures in technical step-by-step instructions. So if you face this problem, if some users cannot log in or have login errors in the domain, how this can be solved in technical steps 1, 2, 3, what to do. So this is also another way to explain a topic in technical terms. Okay, so now I am asking you to explain the troubleshoot login failures, one of the previous answers of ChatGPT 4.0, explain it in technical step by step. So let's see the answer.
Example 5. Troubleshooting login failures. Scenario: employees are experiencing login failures when trying to access their computers. The issue appears to be random and affects different users each day. Step 1. Open Command Prompt with administrative privileges. Press Win plus X and select Command Prompt, Admin, or Windows PowerShell, Admin. If prompted by User Account Control, UAC, click Yes to allow. Step 2. Run the DCDIAG.exe tool. In the command prompt window, type the following command and press enter. Copy code. DIAG/v. Step 3. Review the DIAG results. Open the c:\DCDIAG_results.txt file using a text editor like Notepad. Look for sections related to the Global Catalog, GC. You can search for Global Catalog or GC within the file. Step 4. Identify issues with the Global Catalog. Check for any errors or warnings in the Global Catalog section. Common issues might include GC is not reachable. GC is not replicating correctly. GC is missing necessary information. Step 5. Verify Global Catalog server status. Determine which domain controllers are configured as Global Catalog servers. You can do this by running copy code nulltest/sgec yourdomain/gc. Replace your domain with your actual domain name. Ensure that the listed domain controllers are online and reachable. Step 6. Check replication status. Run the following command to check the replication status of the Global Catalog. Copy code repadmin/repl summary. Look for any errors or warnings that indicate replication issues. Step 7. Resolve replication issues. If replication issues are identified, you may need to force replication. Use the following command to initiate replication. Copy code repadmin/syncall/apt. This command forces synchronization of all partitions to all replication partners. Step 8. Reconfigure Global Catalog if needed. If the Global Catalog configuration is incorrect, you may need to reconfigure it. Open Active Directory sites and services. Press Win+R, type site.msc, and press Enter. In the console, expand the Sites node, then navigate to the Servers container. Right-click the server you want to configure as a Global Catalog and select Properties. Check the box Global Catalog and click OK. Step 9. Verify DNS configuration. Ensure that DNS settings are correctly configured. Each domain controller should point to itself for primary DNS and to another domain controller for secondary DNS. Use the following command to check DNS registration. Copy code diag/test DNS/v/s. Your domain controller name. Replace your domain controller name with the name of the domain controller. Step 10. Reboot and test. After making the necessary changes, reboot the domain controllers if needed. Test the login process to ensure that users can log in without issues. Step 11. Monitor and confirm resolution. Monitor the network to ensure the login issues are resolved. Run diag.exe periodically to ensure continued health of the domain controllers. Following these steps should help identify and resolve login failures related to Global Catalog issues in your Active Directory environment. Explain diag.exe tool using visual aids.
So we'll stop at this. As you can see here, this is very technical, step-by-step explanation that will help you to solve a problem. If you go to Gemini and ask it the same question, the answer was not that good because it didn't give us technical steps. It's just give it a couple of answers actually, and didn't give a technical step like Chat GPT. Okay, so I do not prefer the answer of Gemini. If I go to Claude and see the answer, okay, he gives some good real world examples. I will just read them now, and then when I ask it to provide a step by step, it gives us also a good way to solve the problem. But again, I think the best one of them is for a ChatGPT 4.0. Let's see the real world examples that was provided by Claude 3. Just a moment.
Sure, I can explain the DIAG.exe tool using some real-world examples. Example 1. User account lockouts. Imagine you work in an office where users frequently experience account lockouts, preventing them from logging in to their computers or accessing network resources. This can be frustrating and disruptive to productivity. In this scenario, an IT administrator could run diag.exe to diagnose potential issues with the Active Directory infrastructure that might be causing these lockouts. The tool might identify problems such as replication failures, where user account changes are not being properly synced across all domain controllers, or authentication issues, like expired certificates or incorrect security settings. By identifying the root cause, the administrator can take appropriate steps to resolve the issue and prevent further account lockouts. Example 2. Slow file access. In another real-world scenario, users in a particular department might complain about slow file access when trying to open or save documents on a network file server. This could be caused by underlying AD issues, such as connectivity problems between the file server and the domain controllers. An administrator could run diag.exe to check for any connectivity or replication issues that might be impacting file access performance. The tool might reveal problems with the network configuration, DNS settings, or other factors that need to be addressed to improve file access speeds. Example 3. New domain controller setup. When setting up a new domain controller, DC, in an existing Active Directory environment, it's crucial to ensure that the new DC is properly integrated and functioning correctly. Running diag.exe on the new DC can help identify any configuration issues or replication problems that might prevent it from working as intended. The tool might detect issues like incorrect trust relationships, missing or outdated certificates, or problems with the AD database that need to be resolved before the new DC can be fully operational and start handling authentication requests and other AD services. Example 4. Security audits. In some cases, organizations may need to perform security audits or assessments to ensure their Active Directory infrastructure is secure and compliant with various policies or regulations. Diag.exe can be used as part of this process to identify potential security vulnerabilities or misconfigurations that could put the AD environment at risk. The tool might uncover issues like expired or weak certificates, insecure authentication protocols, or inadequate access controls that could be exploited by attackers. By identifying these issues proactively, organizations can take steps to harden their AD infrastructure and mitigate security risks. These real-world examples illustrate how diag.exe can be a valuable tool for IT administrators and support personnel in diagnosing and resolving a wide range of Active Directory-related issues, from user experience problems to security and compliance concerns. Copy.
Kroner.
Explain.
So here I try to ask Claude 3 to explain example 1. So he's saying there is some user account lockouts. There is a lot of account lockouts. How we can solve this problem in a step or a technical step by step. So here I'm asking you to explain example 1 using technical step by step instructions. So this was the answer. Just a moment.
Sure. Let's explore example 1, user account lockouts, using technical step-by-step instructions. Scenario. Users in your office are frequently experiencing account lockouts, preventing them from logging in to their computers or accessing network resources. Step 1. Open Command Prompt or PowerShell. Open the Command Prompt or PowerShell window with administrative privileges. Step 2. Navigate to the diag.exe tool location. By default, the diag.exe tool is located in the C:\Windows\system32 directory. Navigate to this directory using the following command. Copy code. cdc:/Windows/System32. Step 3. Run diag.exe. To run the diag.exe tool, simply type the following command and press Enter. Copy code diag.exe. This will initiate the diagnostic tests for Active Directory. Step 4. Wait for the tests to complete. The diag.exe tool will run through a series of tests, checking various components of the Active Directory infrastructure. This process may take several minutes, depending on the size and complexity of your AD environment. Step 5. Review the output. Once the tests are complete, the tool will generate a report detailing any issues it has found. The report will be saved as a text file named diag.txt in the same directory where you ran the command. To view the report, you can open the diag.txt file using a text editor, such as Notepad or Notepad++. Step 6. Identify potential issues in the report. Look for any errors or warnings related to replication, authentication, or security. These could be the potential causes of the user account lockouts you've been experiencing. For example, the report might indicate replication failures or authentication issues that could be causing the lockouts. Step 7. Troubleshoot and resolve issues. Based on the issues identified in the report, you can take appropriate steps to resolve them. This may involve fixing replication issues by forcing replication or addressing connectivity problems between domain controllers. Addressing authentication issues by renewing or updating expired certificates or adjusting security settings. Checking for other configuration errors or misconfigurations that might be contributing to the lockouts. Step 8. Monitor and verify resolution. After implementing the necessary fixes or changes, continue to monitor the situation. If the user account lockouts persist, you may need to run diag.exe again to identify any remaining issues or seek further assistance from experienced AD administrators or Microsoft support. By following these step-by-step instructions, you can leverage the diag.exe tool to diagnose and potentially resolve user account lockout issues caused by underlying Active Directory problems.
So again, as you can see here, this is not a very good answer. The best one is from ChatGPT 4o, gives us a very technical step-by-step how we can solve the problem. Even here, I'm trying to give it or ask Claude 3 Sonnet to give me technical steps. It was a little bit detailed, but still, uh, okay, this is a good one. But I think the one for ChatGPT 4 is good. For example, here is issuing DCDIAG/v with its verbose. It will give a lot of details concerning or the reports. It will give us a detailed one. And if you have a problem then with the replication, then we have the rep admin/replicate that will replicate between all the domain controller, and then rep admin show repl. This will give us a replication summary. We'll see if the problem still persists. Anyway, this is a good answer, but still a lot of uh, uh, theoretical information. We need to go uh, to the technical steps. This is a good one, but the best one for me is the ChatGPT 4o. So we can see here there is a lot of terms that we can use to explain or let the AI explain different topics for us. For example, here explain DCDIAG using visual aids. This is not uh, you will not be able to use it successfully on different AI tools. For example, Claude 3 didn't give visual aids. Gemini doesn't give visual aids. ChatGPT 4o gives visual aids, but a very delay response. It will take some time until it generates an image, and it is not correct most of the time. So visual aids will not be we cannot depend upon visual aids to explain something from an AI tool unless the AI tools are improved. Okay, so let's go to ChatGPT and continue here. Visual aids, I didn't have successful thing in explaining in visual aids. Now we can ask it to explain the same topic but in a progressive detail. Progressive detail is to begin from simple, then or overview, then details, then details of the details. Okay, so this is one thing also to explain a topic. Just wait for a moment and see what was the answer.
One, high-level overview. What is DIAG.exe? DIAG.exe is a diagnostic tool used to check the health of domain controllers, DCs, in an Active Directory environment. Think of it as a doctor for your network, making sure everything is running smoothly. 2. Importance. Why is DIAG.exe important? In a large network, domain controllers manage communication between computers, much like traffic cops directing cars. If domain controllers have issues, it can disrupt the whole network. DIAG.exe helps identify and fix these problems, ensuring your network remains efficient and reliable. 3. Basic operation. How does DIAG.exe work? When you run DIAG.exe, it performs a series of tests to check different aspects of the domain controller's health, such as connectivity, ensures domain controllers can communicate with each other. Replication, verifies that changes in one part of the network are properly copied to others. DNS, checks that DNS settings are correct, allowing computers to find each other. 4. Detailed steps. Running DIAG.exe. Open command prompt with administrative privileges. Press Win plus X and select Command Prompt, Admin, or Windows PowerShell, Admin. If prompted by User Account Control, UAC, click Yes to allow. Run the command. Type DIAG and press Enter to run the tool. For more detailed output, use DIAG/V to get verbose results. Performing tests. DIAG.exe runs multiple tests, including connectivity tests, ensure all domain controllers can communicate. Replication tests, check that data changes are properly synchronized. DNS tests, verify correct DNS settings and functionality. Generating reports. DIAG.exe generates a report detailing any issues found during the tests. The report highlights errors and warnings that need attention. 5. Specific use case, troubleshooting login failures. Scenario, employees facing login failures. Run DIAG.exe. Open command prompt and type DIAG/V. Review the report. Open the saved report and look for issues in the Global Catalog section, which can affect login processes. Check Global Catalog configuration. Ensure that the domain controllers configured as global catalog servers are online and properly configured. Verify and fix replication issues. Use repadmin/repl-summary to check replication status. Force replication with repadmin/syncall/apt if needed. Adjust DNS settings. Ensure each domain controller has correct DNS settings. Use DIAG/test DNS/V to check DNS configuration. Testing and monitoring. After making necessary changes, reboot domain controllers if required. Test the login process to confirm resolution. Monitor network health with regular DIAG.exe checks. 6. Continuous maintenance. Regular health checks. Schedule regular runs of DIAG.exe to maintain network health. Use a calendar or task scheduler to ensure consistent monitoring. By progressively detailing the explanation, you can see how DIAG.exe functions from a high-level overview down to specific technical steps, providing a comprehensive understanding of the tool and its importance in maintaining network health. Explain DIAG.
So we can see here this is the progressive detail term, and it's very, very good. It has combined a lot of things in one point. So let's see here if we can ask the same for here Gemini. We cannot help him with visual aids. It doesn't generate images. Here we can see the progressive details. I think here it didn't give us the answer is not that good. Okay, so if you go to Claude and ask it the same to use a progressive detail description, I think the same doesn't give us a good explanation. I think the best one is for ChatGPT 4. I think Claude gives a similar answer. I can see here from the answer he is giving a good explanation, but as we can see here, this is how you can get different answers with using different terminologies. For example, here if we go to ChatGPT again and ask it not to give a simplified summary because this is the same as progressive detail, let's ask it to uh, provide an explanation using interactive elements. Interactive elements, this is something like using quizzes and a lot of things. Let's see the answer of ChatGPT concerning this issue. Here he's trying to explain connectivity test in DCDIAG. So here he will begin explaining the tests that is done by DCDIAG by explaining them and giving visual aids and giving questions. I think this is not as complete as I suppose, but this is also another way to explain a topic using a question and answer and quizzes and analogies. Okay, so let me go to the last one, which is explaining with the help of terminology glossary. Okay, this is also another thing or another way of answering. This will be the last one in our video, so let's see how it is asked.
Explanation of DIAG.exe. DIAG.exe is a diagnostic tool used in Windows Server environments to check the health and functionality of domain controllers, DCs, within an Active Directory, AD, network. It performs a series of tests to ensure the proper operation and communication between DCs, helping to identify and resolve issues that could affect network performance. Terminology glossary. Active Directory, AD. A directory service developed by Microsoft for Windows domain networks. It manages permissions and access to network resources. Domain Controller, DC. A server in an Active Directory network that responds to security authentication requests, e.g., logging in, checking permissions. Replication. The process of copying and maintaining database objects, such as user accounts and security policies, across multiple DCs to ensure consistency. DNS, Domain Name System. A system that translates human-friendly domain names, e.g., www.example.com, into IP addresses that computers use to identify each other on the network. Global Catalog, GC. A distributed data repository that contains a searchable, partial representation of every object in every domain within a multi-domain Active Directory forest. Connectivity. The ability of different parts of the network to communicate with each other, ensuring data can flow between DCs. Health check. A comprehensive review of the system's status to ensure everything is functioning correctly and identify any potential issues. How DIAG.exe works. Step 1. Running DIAG.exe. Open command prompt with administrative privileges. Type DIAG and press Enter to start the tool. Step 2. Performing tests. DIAG.exe runs several tests to check various aspects of DC health, including connectivity tests, ensures all DCs can communicate with each other. Example test. Pinging other DCs to verify network connections. Replication tests. Checks if data changes on one DC are correctly copied to others. Example test. Verifying replication status and consistency. DNS tests. Ensures DNS settings and servers are correctly configured and functioning. Example test. Validating DNS records and resolving DNS names. Global catalog tests. Verifies that the global catalog is correctly configured and available. Example test. Checking GC replication and availability. Step 3. Generating a report. DIAG.exe provides a detailed report highlighting any issues found during the tests. The report includes error messages and warnings that need attention. Step 4. Resolving issues. Use the information from the DIAG.exe report to identify and fix problems. Common actions include reconfiguring settings, ensuring proper replication, and correcting DNS issues. Example, troubleshooting login failures. Scenario, employees experiencing login failures. Run diag.exe. Save detailed results with diag/v. Review the report. Look for issues in the Global Catalog section. Check Global Catalog configuration. Ensure DCs configured as Global Catalog servers are online and properly set up. Verify and fix replication issues. Use repadmin/repl summary to check replication status and repadmin/syncall/apt to force replication if needed. Adjust DNS settings. Verify and fix DNS settings using diag/test DNS/v. Outcome. After making the necessary changes, test the login process to ensure employees can log in without issues. Summary. The diag.exe tool is essential for maintaining the health and functionality of domain controllers in an Active Directory network. By performing comprehensive tests and generating detailed reports, it helps administrators identify and resolve issues, ensuring the network runs smoothly and efficiently. The terminology glossary provided helps clarify key concepts related to the tool's operation. Explain these systems dependent on Active
So we
Directory.
can see now that these terminologies help us to explain different topics through the AI. These are different answers. We can see all of them are good. By the way, there is a note: if you need to replicate between domain controllers, make sure to make that not during the working hours, because this will generate traffic. You need to make sure to make replication in a correct time, not to make traffic in your network. So let's, for example, see Gemini, when I asked it to explain something here related to, or explain using terminologies. For example, here we can see that it will give us also a good answer. As for Claude, it didn't give me the answer I was expecting, but let's read this one.
Understanding DCDIAG link to .x with a terminology glossary. DCDIAG link to .x is a free command line tool included in Microsoft Windows Server environments. It helps diagnose and troubleshoot issues related to domain controllers, DCs, in an Active Directory domain. Here's a breakdown of key terms and how DCDIAG link to .x interacts with them. Terminology glossary. Domain controller, DC. A server responsible for authentication, authorization, and replication of data, like user accounts and permissions, in an Active Directory domain. Active Directory. A directory service from Microsoft that stores information about network resources and users. Replication. The process of copying data, like user accounts and permissions, from one domain controller to another, ensuring consistency across the network. Knowledge Consistency Checker, KCC. A service that manages replication between domain controllers, ensuring they have the same information. Domain Name System, DNS. A service that translates domain names, like linktomycompany.com, into IP addresses, numerical addresses used to locate computers on a network. How DCDIAG link to .x utilizes these terms. Domain controller health. DCDIAG link to .x performs various tests to assess the overall health of domain controllers. It checks if services essential for domain controller functionality are running correctly and verifies if the DC can communicate with other DCs. Replication verification. DCDIAG link to .x can identify potential issues with data replication between domain controllers. This ensures all DCs have consistent information about users, groups, and permissions. KCC functioning. DCDIAG link to .x can test the functionality of the Knowledge Consistency Checker, KCC, to verify if it's properly managing replication between domain controllers. DNS integration. DCDIAG link to .x can assess the health of DNS integration with domain controllers. This ensures computers can locate resources on the network by resolving domain names to IP addresses. Benefits of using DCDIAG link to .x. Proactive maintenance. DCDIAG link to .x helps identify potential problems with domain controllers before they disrupt network operations. Troubleshooting efficiency. By pinpointing specific issues, DCDIAG link to .x helps IT professionals troubleshoot domain controller problems more efficiently. Improved network health. By ensuring healthy domain controllers, DCDIAG link to .x contributes to a more reliable and efficient Active Directory environment. Terminology in action. Imagine a scenario where users are experiencing login issues on a Monday morning. An IT administrator can run DCDIAG link to .x to diagnose the problem. The tool might reveal issues with the authentication service running on the domain controller, preventing users from logging in. By identifying this specific issue, related to the domain controller and its services, the administrator can take corrective actions and restore normal network operations. In conclusion, DCDIAG link to .x is a valuable tool for IT professionals to maintain a healthy Active Directory environment by focusing on the health of domain controllers, replication, KCC functionality, and DNS integration. Understanding these core Active Directory components and how DCDIAG link to .x interacts with them is essential for effective network management.
So we will stop here. Now we can see that there is a lot of things, or you can get a lot of data from different AI tools with different answers and different simplifications. We can get a lot of answers very simple if you just ask the AI the correct term. We have seen that to ask it, we can ask it 10 terms to get different answers with very simple explanation. So I will stop at that point. In the upcoming video, we'll begin seeing what are the services that depend upon the Active Directory. So we are troubleshooting the Active Directory because some services depend upon the Active Directory. The group policy, for example, Windows Update, terminal services, file services, authentication, all of these we will discuss in the upcoming video, and we'll ask the AI tools to explain each one of these by using the 10 terms that we have discovered today using the Rika AI tool. Hope this video is informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.